Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. It's not raining yet, but I understand rain is coming our way. So if you've put something away for a rainy day, maybe you'll do that thing today, or maybe you'll read that book that you've set aside until a rainy day. And I got one for you if you haven't put one aside. You're going to like this one. It is written by a guy who knows his stuff in more ways than one, and that's why I think I like when historic fiction is written by somebody who has done the studying and has actually walked the walk. Our next guest has walked the walk somewhat. James Mace is a veteran. That's what I mean by that. He served in Iraq with the U.S. Army, a very prolific author from what I understand, and an historian, obviously. He's a lifelong scholar of ancient Rome, and I think, as he does, that we need to pay attention to Rome, ancient Rome, especially how it affects us here in America, because we don't want to duplicate that, and it sometimes looks like we are duplicating it. But you know, James Mace has studied this more than I ever will. I'll learn a lot from him simply by reading his books. This one is called Soldier of Rome, The Last Campaign. It is book 6 of the Arturian Chronicles. Many of you probably already are familiar with him. And in addition to talking about the what's between the covers of this book, we also want to simply kind of discuss this whole idea that we as a nation might be following in the footsteps of the Roman Empire. Good morning, James Mace. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Larry and Robin. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Where are you right now?
I'm in Boise, Idaho.
Oh, in Idaho. You got snow right now?
Not down in the valley, no. Just up in the mountains at the ski resorts.
Oh, okay. Well, that's where they should be, right?
Yes.
See,
yes. No, it's actually turning quite nice. It's looking like spring's around the corner here.
Oh, that's good. That's good. See, we in Florida, we are kind of trying to make the rest of the country jealous because we've been pretty well off.
Yeah.
But the truth is, some of us really say, "Gosh, I wish I could see a little snow." You know, little. So the first question is very, very superficial. So forgive me for this. Is that you on the cover?
On a couple of them, yes. It's kind of a nice thing when you write and publish your own works. You can engage your own vanity a little bit, but you know. So who's really being superficial here? I don't know. It could be me.
No, I was looking at the cover, and I said to Robin, "This looks like he hired some actors to do this." And then I flipped the book over, and I looked at your picture. I said, "Wait a minute, wait a minute." That's funny.
If you look at the whole series, that's exactly what I did for a lot of them. In fact, the third book, Heir to Rebellion, has a picture of a guy in a hooded cloak standing over, a bloody corpse that the guy he just murdered. Those are actually two good friends of mine, and we shot that picture in my living room.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Good friends, huh?
Yeah.
Exactly. I had to buy them both lunch after that.
I bet.
We shot that in my front living room, and then I do my own book covers. I've got all the programs to do it. I mean, the cobblestones, the pool of blood, and all that. That's all digitally added. So
nice. We don't want to focus on the book on the cover too much. The one question I have, this is almost like shop talk. How's the echo? Did the echo go away, by the way?
It did, yes.
Okay, good. But it does sound like there's a delay, and I apologize for that. That will sometimes make it seem like we're talking over you, and it's not our intent to do that. So, just so you know in advance. So tell me, what's in the book? What's the story?
This story, it's the last of a series. The Arturian Chronicles tells of the life and career of a Roman soldier in the 1st century A.D. The first book opens when he's 17. He's a brand new recruit to the Roman army. And in this one, he's in his mid-40s. He's come up through the ranks, and he's, embarking, like the title says, on his last campaign.
Oh, okay. Or when we look, as a historian, when you look back at the soldier's life in the Roman Empire, were they treated well? I mean, we always get this picture they were a little bit too liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was very similar to what you see today. I mean, the discipline was definitely more harsh. You know, we don't flog anymore, but you know that's been gone for 100 years. But it was a guaranteed source of income, and you were guaranteed. I mean, this is you got to look at the way the rest of the world was back then. It was cold, it was brutal, it was harsh, very unforgiving. And if you join the army, well, you're guaranteed you're going to get paid. You're guaranteed you're going to get fed, and you're definitely going to be in physical shape.
Right.
And really, your chances of dying in battle or whatnot were very small. Large-scale battles didn't happen often. In fact, like modern times, I mean, you could go your entire career without ever drawing your sword in anger, or you could fight in 50 battles.
Right.
But the Romans had such a...
And I didn't mean to interrupt you. Again, that was probably the delay that made me not realize you were done. But so I apologize. But in our country, we've seen both extremes as far as public support or lack of support of our military. Back in the aftermath of the during the Vietnam era, actually, we were so anti-military that our soldiers serving us had this awful reception when they came home, compared to now, where we make sure that they know we appreciate them, which is a good turnaround. What was it like? Was it similar back in the day with the Roman soldiers?
Well, first off, I'll say, my dad served in Vietnam, I served in Iraq, and it was totally different worlds. And I think one lesson we did learn was that whether you support the war or not, and believe it or not, a huge number of veterans did not support the Iraq War,
right,
myself included, but it wasn't up to us. Now, in Rome, I can't really say it was the same or different because most of the fighting was done on the frontiers, and that's where the legions were stationed. It's not like you went off 1,000 miles, fought a war, and then came home. It didn't work that way. You went to the frontier. That's where you were stationed, and that's where you spent out the rest of your lives. Now, if there was a huge triumph, like the triumph of Caesar, the triumphs of Germanicus, which I talked about in the first book, then of course there's a huge cause for celebration. Great empires, they love victories. And if you have a mortal enemy and you hear that some general on the frontier has defeated them, then of course then the soul. I mean, I would say if there was going to be a comparison, it would be more. They would be closer compared to the way things are now, or like during World War II. Okay,
that's actually what I thought, but I wasn't sure. So, tell me about your work as an historian. Do you go over to Rome? Is that even necessary to be physically there?
Well, there's no substitute for walking the ground when you go to these places, and I have found, like in the last campaign, it mainly covers the invasion.
James, are you there? Did we lose him? James,
something I did last.
Okay, now you're back. You dropped out for a little bit. You said there was nothing. Start all over. You said there was nothing like actually walking there, right?
Correct. And so, like last summer, because this latest book talks about the invasion of Britannia in 43 AD. And so my fiance and I, we actually went over to Britain. We love it there anyway. And what was really neat is there's an old Iron Age hill called Maiden Castle outside of Dorchester. And it's essentially a giant fortress that was carved out of a hill. And it's the scene of the final battle in the entire series.
That's cool.
The locals thought this thing's impenetrable because we've carved these gigantic ramparts out of the mountainside. Nothing's getting up it. Well, General Vespasian, who 20 years later became emperor, he surrounded it and he broke them in a day.
Wow.
And and I've got a bunch of pictures on my Facebook page and stuff of me and my fiance and a good friend of mine who's a retired British sergeant major, scaling the heights of this thing. And I'm like, wow, almost 2,000 years ago, this slope we're standing on was swarming with legionaries.
Oh gosh!
Wow, that is amazing to think about that. I was watching this thing on New York the other day, and Staten Island was a battlefield. Who knew that? I didn't know that back
No,
in Revolutionary
no
War.
clue.
Yeah.
The title that you have chosen, The Final Conflict, it doesn't just exude the military, but it also can be a metaphor for the personal life that's depicted in the book, because once the soldiers depart, nobody really knows if they're going to come home for sure or how long they're going to be gone. It could be years.
Sure, absolutely. And in the case of the Britannic conquest, several of the legions that went over, well, they went over for good. It was understood, hey, we're invading and conquering a new province, and you're going to stay there. So once things were stabilized, you could, send word back, have your wives and stuff essentially catch up to you. But yeah, they built their new fortresses in Britannia, and a couple of the legions ended up staying there. And that became home for them.
Was the Roman Empire viewed as the policeman of the world, as the United States seems to be viewed right now?
In a manner of speaking, but the world was Rome. In other words, they didn't go outside their borders unless they saw something that was a direct threat to them. Probably the only incident I can think of, at least in the time period I'm writing about, was in Armenia, and that's just because Armenia was like a buffer state between Rome and the Parthians, and there was some stuff going on there. The Parthians were doing incursions into Armenia, and the Romans show up. They essentially they beat up the Parthians, say go away, we're going to respect Armenia's neutrality. That's the only time I can think of. They didn't bother with things that were not their concern.
Well, you always hear the old adage, history repeats itself. Well, since it does keep repeating itself, why doesn't the current U.S. government look back to these and then look at what's going on right now and take a different stance and change and fix things?
Because the American people don't look back and read history and say, wow, why are we doing this again? Whether we admit it or not, the government we elect, because that is one difference between us and Rome, we elect our representatives. And if we don't read history ourselves, and if we don't learn the lessons, how can we expect them to? Or how can we expect to vote people in who are going to do that? So really the onus is on us.
Oh, that's a keen
as
observation. Yeah.
Now, what about corruption? Not just maybe in the military of the early or ancient Rome, but also in the government of ancient Rome, and even in the streets, the average person. Mm-hmm. I remember reading something. I was doing a quick look to see if I could find the article that it wasn't unusual for children to be part of a sex slave thing in the early Roman Empire. Is that right?
That I'm not as sure. I'm not as much sure about that, but I do know this though: slaves were property. They were not. You didn't think of them as human beings. So honestly, I don't know for sure the answer on that.
Well,
but one thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but the one thing, the reason I think that's important to look at is because while we have our share of corruption, we have our share of unethical and immoral behavior, it almost seems like we have regularly been able to campaign against those things so that we can at least attempt to undo it, to at least attempt to make it shameful, prostitution or human trafficking or anything that you would consider shameful, that suddenly in a super liberal society would say, no, that's nothing wrong with that. So we do have some kind of a checks and balances now. And I guess that's why I was wondering, did they not have checks and balances back then?
Well, their version of morality.
Are you breaking up again, James? Are you there?
Think about it.
Okay, go ahead. Now you're back. No, you're not. James Mace is our guest. Let me let you know, James, that we don't hear you right now. Your phone cut out. You're popping in and out. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, I've got you. Do you have me now?
There you go. There you go. Okay, so now kind of start where we were with the corruption and the unethical behavior.
Sure. So what I said was, you can't put current morality on first century AD, like on slavery itself.
Right.
it didn't end in this country until the 1860s, and it took a civil war to do that.
Right.
Yeah. It didn't end here until 1,400 years after Rome. Their views on prostitution were, it just was what it was. So
yeah,
but so now a couple of similarities though that I find disturbing. The biggest one is the money in politics. In the early republic, the early American republic, I should say, serving in Congress was like doing jury duty. You did it because it was your duty. You didn't do it to make money. And now it's the number one means of making money in the U.S.
Exactly.
And back during Roman times, it was very class-driven. You had the patricians, you had the lesser nobles called the equites, and then you had everyone else. And that's just the way it was. You could purchase membership, essentially, into the senatorial class if you had if your net worth was around 250,000 denarii. Now, put that in perspective. This is back when a Roman soldier made about 225 denarii a year.
Oh.
So, but, put that to today's times, and the average cost of one senatorial election for the U.S. Senate is $10.5 million. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a good parallel too. So, but on the other side of the coin is the fact that we don't put Christians into or anybody into an arena for entertainment purposes to watch them being killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are differences, and they are they're subtle, but they're there. It's kind of interesting. There was a HBO and BBC series called Rome, came out about 10 years ago. And when you watched it, you came up to two conclusions simultaneously. You first off think, wow, they're so different from us. But then at the same time, you think, wow, we are so much alike.
Yeah. Wow, it is fascinating to look at the parallels. So do you think we do a good job, or our movie makers do, when they tell us the stories about ancient Rome? Do we... with the exception of the BBC program you just told about, do we generally see an accurate portrayal?
Absolutely not, unfortunately. The series Rome was phenomenal. The movie Gladiator got some elements right, but some of it was not even close. The sad thing is filmmakers tend to have their own agenda. They try and insert modern morality where it just would not fit. And Rome is almost always the bad guys. Their soldiers are almost always shown as incompetent and inept. And the quote-unquote barbarians are always showed as these, peace-loving people who just want to be left alone. The reality is they were murdering each other. During the invasion of Britannia, one of the reasons why Rome was able to conquer with such a small army, they only had about 45,000 men, is all the tribal kingdoms were fighting each other.
This book is called Soldier of Rome, The Last Campaign, Book 6 of the Arturian Chronicles, and James Mace is the author, and I just went to your Facebook page, and by the way, and I'm following. I don't think that's the first Facebook page I had a follow button as opposed to a like button or a friend or whatever you call them.
Okay.
So I'm on there, and I took, there's a few James Maces. So what I did, I put James Mace, which you did not show up. Then I put James Mace, author, and it mentions that you are the CEO of Legionary Books. Legionary Books.
Legionary Books is my company, and it has its own Facebook page as well. If you click on Legionary Books, and then that'll bring up my specific authors page.
Okay.
And
Oh, go ahead.
James, you have a phone. You have a couple of phone calls coming in, and I want to make sure our listeners have a chance to chat with you, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got somebody who's been waiting almost the whole show, actually. Good morning. Thank you for being patient with us. You're on the air with James Mace.
Good morning, James. I think this is very interesting to follow, and as one way of putting it, I think the United States is following Rome in Reader's Digest version. But besides that, when you were talking about some of the benefits that Roman soldiers had, was the fact that I believe in England, where they did some archaeology, they came across surgeons' kits. And at that time, they because naturally they fought with swords and spears, the cuts were the big thing, and they actually had silver sutures that they used, and then they also used a lot of vinegar. And I thought that was very insightful, that the fact that, besides being paid once a month or whatever, how they were paid, they did have benefits. They did have the Roman government provided housing and also medical care. And I thought that was extremely astounding to see what that care included. I'll hang up and listen to your comment now, and I think you are doing a great service to our country indirectly with a book like this.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Cool. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate hearing that. And also, yes, their medical care was very advanced. People don't comprehend just how far mankind stepped backwards after the fall of Rome. I believe it was on, Discovery or History or something like that. It was talking about Roman medicine and also Roman architecture, and their standard of living and quality of life as far as hygiene, cleanliness, and medical care was never replicated again until the 20th century.
Wow. It's amazing. I wonder why it took so long. Maybe, I don't know. James Mace is our guest, and the book is called Soldier of Rome, The Last Campaign. I have a copy of this awesome book. I will give it away, even though I don't want to. So if you are out there and you would like it, give me a call at 622-9622. You can have the copy that James sent to us, and the rest of us have to go buy it. James, I don't want to run out of time before we give that information out. Do you mention the website again and any other way we can get the book?
Sure. It's you can find me on Amazon. If you look up James Mace or Soldier of Rome on Amazon, you'll find my author's page. And 4 of my books have been ancient history bestsellers on Amazon and Amazon UK. And you can also find me at legionarybooks.net or on Facebook at facebook.com/legionarybooks.
Okay, and I've already, let's see, I have, what did I go to? I went to your book page and to your page, and I've liked or followed both of them. All right, let me take one of these calls and give this book away. Good morning, you got the book. Who's this?
Sonny.
Sonny, good for you. I was hoping you'd get it.
Oh, thank you.
It'll be waiting for you, okay?
Yes, thank you. We need more people like James, because we got to know our history, and we have to, the schools aren't teaching it anymore, and books like this bring our history back to us. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah, thank you. And if I can add my 2 cents about in that regard, is that when you teach history by intertwining it with a good story, I think the young readers are more apt to read it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I do it, is not everyone likes to read a dry history book. I'm one of those eclectic types that doesn't mind opening up Tacitus or Josephus and just reading it. But and that's why it's also crucial, too, as a novelist, that I maintain historical integrity as much as possible.
That's good. Thank you for your service, by the way, with the U.S. Army in Iraq, and I'm glad you were able to see the world through a soldier's eyes, because it helps us as readers be able to see something more clearly and maybe set the record straight on some things, especially the comparison between modern-day United States and ancient Rome.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Thank you, James Mace. Again, go to the WOCA Facebook page, and you'll see this interview on there. By the time we'll get it up by about 2:00, and go online and go to legionarybooks.com, and you'll see, or go to Amazon and get the book. James Mace, Soldier of Rome, The Last Campaign. We'll take a little break, and we will be right back.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front-end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing.
Look who just walked in the room. Joel Wiesner from What's Up Ocala. Hey, Joel, I'm looking for something to do this weekend. You got any ideas?
Absolutely. Check out our event calendar online at www.whatsupocala.com, and there is plenty of events there for you. Daily news updates to event reviews and magazine articles.
Really?
We've organized it all in one place online for you to cut through all of the hassle of finding something to do this weekend. We have a daily event calendar, a bi-monthly magazine, and we also do daily news articles.
All right, Joel, that's perfect. Thanks so much.
Yeah, whatsupocala.com.
On the next Voice of Ocala, it's Mayor Kent Gwynn as he stops by for his weekly visit to the show. He'll tell us what happened at this week's City Council meeting. Plus, don't get your hopes up. Fake or factoid may have not been good yesterday, but I'm back with a vengeance on the next show. Plus, in the sports world, we'll get you caught up on how the Gators did against South Carolina, and we'll get you set up for CF as they start their state title defense. All that and more on the next Voice of Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Hey, it's Christy with Ocala Mac and PC Repair and Ocala Guest Wi-Fi to let you know we have you covered. We are the only local certified Apple and Microsoft computer company in Ocala. We are family owned and operated. From mobile repair to wireless networks, viruses, new systems, or security cameras, we do it all. Check us out online, ocalamacpc.com, or give us a call, 352-566-8324.
Tell them Nick, Madison, or Mason sent you and get free diagnostic.
Get your internet telephone service from the company that brought affordable internet service to Ocala in the first place. All is Safe is a sister company of Ocala Guest Wi-Fi, a company you've known and trusted for all your internet needs. Whether you need a phone or hundreds, we've got the products and services to meet your needs both now and in the future. Our plans include everything from local and long-distance calling to equipment maintenance and even software upgrades. You can count on All is Safe to give you cost certainty knowing that your bill will be the same next week, next month, or even next year. Call 352-450-8647 today to learn how to cut your monthly telephone bill up to 60%.
Hi, Danny Werfel here. You don't have to sacrifice convenience for local personal service.
At Florida Credit Union, you can transfer your high credit card balances to our rewards card and actually get paid with cash back. You'll enjoy low rates and a customizable card that fits your lifestyle for free.
Never tried a credit union? Maybe it's time for a new game plan.
The Florida Credit Union Wave Card, connecting your money to your life.
What you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Crash diets can literally warp our body because when you gain the weight back, which most people do, by the way, it can end up in completely different places. You get more stains and discoloration from red wine, but white wine is more acidic, so it can etch tooth enamel and makes your teeth even more vulnerable to stains from dark-colored food. Kids who miss the most sleep have the hardest time solving math problems and have the worst memory skills.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
How good does it get?
Golf has long been considered to be sport's most prestigious game, and WOCA has your connection to everything in the golf world. Every first and third Thursday at 10 a.m., tune in for Let's Talk Golf with your host, PGA professional and teacher to the stars, Jim Beckett, and operations manager for the Links of Spruce Creek South, Darren Irwin, right here on The Source.
Hi, I'm Yvette, and I'm here to tell you a few things about ABC Frederick's Appliance. They sell not only new, but used guaranteed appliances. When you call ABC Frederick's Appliance, they will provide service on what they sell and any appliances that you own. ABC Frederick's Appliance is located in Bellevue, right over the railroad tracks. Call 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. ABC Frederick's Appliance.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. President Obama says Americans deserve a raise. He takes his crusade for a minimum wage hike to $10.10 an hour to Connecticut, a state that just voted to raise its to over $9. Olympic Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius covered his ears during dramatic testimony from a witness who claims she heard screams before gunshots the night his girlfriend was killed. His attorneys are trying to convince the jury she was confused. A suspicious fire at a 3-story Detroit apartment complex sent people jumping out of windows for their lives. 4 people were taken to hospitals. How fluent are you in tech talk? Apparently not very. 1 in 10 Americans thinks HTML is a sexually transmitted disease, according to a survey. It's actually a computer code for web pages. 18% think Blu-ray is a marine animal. 27% think a gigabyte is an insect commonly found in South Africa. 15% think software is comfortable clothing. It'll be 217,000 miles away, but that's a close call by astronomical standards. An asteroid will whiz by the Earth today. This is ABC News.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. We're in Florida. Considerable cloudiness today with a couple of showers around, then a high between 71 in the northernmost part of the zone and 80 in the south part. Mostly cloudy, mild tonight with a passing shower, low 59 up north to 65 in the south. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy with some showers and a heavier thunderstorm or two with highs ranging from 70 in the northernmost part of the zone to 78 in the south. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Meteorologist